A finding of lack of reasonable efforts should not be imposed for failing to comply with the court's order directing a deadline for filing a TPR petition in the case. We're conducting the hearing virtually using Zoom. And Mr. Scrivonic's here for DFACS. The foster parent, Ms. Cox, is here. The guardian ad litem attorney for the child, Ms. Schrock, is here. Ms. Long and Ms. Lamkin from Henry DFACS are here. The mother, Ms. Jimenez, is here from Lee Arundel State Prison. I don't see a picture yet, but I think Jamie and King. Is that who's at Riverbend?
Yes.
Okay. And then there was a lady that with one of the prisons was on my screen, but she disappeared. I don't know where she went. Ms. Crane, who represents the mother, is in the courtroom with me and the clerk because she had another hearing earlier and could not get back to her office to get so she can hear us. And she usually talks loud enough you could hear her. All right, Mr. Scrivonic.
So I'm not actually the SAG on this case, Your Honor. That's Mr. Overman. He could not be here this morning and asked me to cover this for him last week. I did get an update and have a chance to talk with him about this matter. So apparently there was a order in November of last year, allegedly there was an order that states that a TPR was to be filed by November 30th. I don't actually have the orders from Mr. Overman's office, Your Honor, but Jack, when I had a discussion with him, one of the first questions we had was there actually a date set in any of the orders for the filing of the TPR? Was it written down or was it just an oral pronouncement from the court?
Now, there's a written order because the clerk had sent reminders to counsel and got no response. And the TPR was ultimately filed long after the Rule 9 side, but it was filed. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
March 18, 2024. What did you want?
I was going to say the judicial review order dated October 23rd on page 4 states it is further ordered that the department filed a petition for termination of parental rights by November 30th, 2023.
Which, tell me the date of that.
October 23rd is a judicial review order.
My index is out of whack. All right. The order that was filed, judicial review order filed October 23rd, 2023. The last paragraph, it is further ordered that the department file their petition for termination of parental rights by November 30, 2023, which was roughly 45 days from the day that we had the hearing on October the 16th.
Yeah, what was that date, Your Honor? I'm just for my notes.
Which date? I said 3 days.
So yeah, the date that the TPR was to be filed by?
November 30.
30th. Okay. All right. So, there is also from the department an email where it looks like this TPR packet was originally sent to me back on Tuesday, the 24th of October, and which point I stated that it was not my case, and it was sent to Brooke Waller, the former SAG with Mr. Overman's office. Looks like on October 25th and October 25th. She stated, "Thank you. We'll get started on the petition, get that submitted." Then Ms. Whaley reports that the TPR was apparently drafted in December, but was not properly sent. I don't know what that specifically means. When Ms. Whaley from Mr. Overman's office saw it was on the calendar for late February for the first show cause hearing that you apparently had on this matter, she found the order in the Overman law office system and emailed it to Ms. Gaskill. And then I can speak on this. I've had some experience with Fayette County. They actually do allow electronic filings in Fayette County Juvenile Court. Ms. Whaley said that after she emailed it, there was no response back, and that after she found out she had to hand deliver it, she talked to Jack and printed it and brought it to the clerk's office on March 14th or 15th. And then again, Brooke may have, and again, we can't verify this, but the department suspects that Brooke may have emailed it in December. But we don't have any electronic documentation showing that.
No.
So
we have never allowed electronic filing, and every lawyer knows we don't allow electronic filing. We're not equipped to do it. It's nothing personal against anybody. And Ms. Whaley has worked in the court with the delinquency side, and then I don't know how long she's been at Jack's office. She knows we don't do electronic filing.
I get that, Your Honor, but and I can sort of sympathize with Mr. Overman's office now that I've got some cases that I'm handling for conflict cases and out of other counties. After a while, the counties kind of run together, and you sometimes forget about what you're allowed to do in one county and what you're not allowed to do in another county. So I think that in this particular case, that it could very well have been one of those, oh, well, just email it over. And for whatever reason you have in your head that, you know, it's acceptable to do it by email when it's actually not. And like I said, I've got Walton County that I'm doing now. They do it. They don't they take some things electronically, some things they don't. It's just, I can certainly sympathize. But my point is, Your Honor, is that I don't think that the department has willfully failed. It has attempted to do it. It may have been late, but when the department found out, or when Mr. Overman's office found out that it had not been filed, that they attempted to file it, they didn't do that correctly. When they figured out that they had not done it correctly, they filed it with the court, and that TPR has now been filed and is apparently pending before this court, as the court indicated it was filed. Looks like you said March 18th, and Ms. Whaley stated she brought it over a couple of days before, but that's not unusual. That those may sit there for a couple of days before the court can get to them and look at it. So from the department's perspective, Your Honor, from Mr. Overman's perspective, that their office has in fact made the efforts that dating back to December of last year. So for whatever reason, it's one of those where it just kind of, I guess, fell through the cracks, for lack of a better word. And when Ms. Waller left the office back at the end of December of 2023, it had not been filed. And that was her case. And it just, for whatever reason, didn't get onto Mr. Overman's plate until you had the first show cause hearing. And when they found that out, they tried to get it in electronically, which they should not have done. I agree with that. That's not the way this court has handled these things. But then when they found out that it had not been filed, they took it over and delivered it as soon as practically possible thereafter to ensure that that matter was filed and is currently pending before the court.
Anybody else want to be heard or have any questions for staff members or anybody?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Crane said she didn't
Yes,
have
sir.
any questions. Ms. Schrock, do you have any questions?
No, sir. I think I may have been speaking at the same time as Crane was. No questions.
Either of you parents have any questions? You understand what we're talking about? This is the case that they finally filed is coming up for hearing in May, and you should have already received your notice about that.
I haven't, Your Honor.
Lawyers will be here with you for that.
Okay.
I mean, what I rule about whether this is, if I found that they were, the delay was serious enough to cause the court to find that they did not exercise reasonable efforts toward permanency, then it affects some funding sources that they have to pay for the child in foster care, but it doesn't affect whether or not this case can go forward or not. The case will go forward regardless of how I rule about the timeliness of the petition with respect to the deadline that the court gave them. So I'm going to take that matter under advisement, and I'll rule and enter an order. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of the hearing, unless somebody has anything else they want to share.
Not for me, Your Honor. That's all the information that I have.
Ms. Long, anything?
No, no, sir, I don't have anything.
Ms. Lamb, have you been on the case since you haven't been since the beginning, have you?
No, sir, I have not.
When did you get the file?
I got the file the beginning of last year.
Beginning of 23. So you've had it a year and a half?
Yes, sir.
Okay, almost a year and a half. Okay. All right. Thank y'all for your time. And I'll take the matter under advisement and rule. And I will see y'all. Well, actually, we have a permanency review next week at 8 o'clock. Next week. On the 15th. And then the TPR is set for May 22nd. And that's going to be on, both of those will be on Zoom. Okay? Thank y'all for your time.
I think
We'll conclude the hearing. I think. Let's see. Ms. Crane represents the mother, Crystal Jimenez, who's both the parents are incarcerated in the state system and have been to most of the hearings, but they're not here today, but they're represented by counsel, so we can proceed. The foster parent, Ms. Cox, is here. The attorney for defects, Mr. Overman, is here. Ms. Lampkin, case manager, is here. Ms. Schrock, the attorney and guardian ad litem for the child, is here. Ms. Evans Battle represents the father. Who's also, like I said, is incarcerated and not here. And Ms. Whaley with Mr. Overman's office is here.
Yes.
Mr. Overman.
Thank you, Judge. Just as I'll proffer a summary if that's okay for the court since the last hearing. You're correct that mom is still in Alto State Prison. Dad is in Riverbend State Prison. Last visit mom had was March of 2023. The child is with the Cox and doing very well. All the medical and dental are up to date, and the dad has never visited. The department did file a TPR in this case. It's been filed. I don't think we have a date yet for the TPR.
You should have a date.
Okay.
We said it when you file it. Let's hold on a second and I'll tell you.
Thank you.
Date is May 22nd at 12:30 p.m.
Okay.
Which probably is at 1, but to be here early.
Okay. Yep. That's what they usually do. And so anyway, we're waiting on that. Other than that, there's no updates other than that. I will ask Portia, is there any update, Ms. Lampkin? The information I gave true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the court concerning the case?
No, sir.
There is one other thing, Judge. I think a diligent search was done, and I think the dad, we've asked all along, of course, to provide names, et cetera. And I think the first of the month or last month, dad came up with a name. I think it was his sister and gave to us. We just got it, and we're in the process, I think, of reaching out to them, but as I say, TPR has already been filed in the case. So just to let you know. Also, Ms. Long is aware of that, and I think Ms. Long, have you got any information on that?
Ms. Lampkin has an update as to the sister
Okay,
as of Friday.
okay. Ms. Lumpkin, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So I reached out Friday, called her around 10 a.m. I spoke with her. She said she was going to her child's school to give her a call back around 1. I did at 1 and also at 3. The phone went to voicemail. And I have not been able to get in touch with her since.
But the department's intent is still to terminate on the 22nd. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Judge, that's all I have unless anybody else has any questions.
Attorneys, anybody?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir, no questions.
Well, yes, Judge, I just have a question about the efforts of the department to have visitation with the dad. I think that's been part of the court order and was part of the last court pronounced order of the court. And I'd like for them to, as part of the 216 review, to go ahead and state what the visitation was.
Think what?
State the visitation that, or efforts they made to have the father visit with the child.
You mean in prison? I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, the order was before he went to prison, and there was an order by the court for him to have visitation.
And I can answer that, Jack, if you would like.
Go ahead.
Mr. King was at Henry County Jail prior to him going to prison. And as you know, they do not allow individuals under the age of 17 to visit. There is an option as to where they could do video calls, but the father would have to have money on his on the telephone to do that. He did see the child via video conference at least twice, I'm aware of, when mom was actually visiting with the child in person. So outside of that, there was nothing else that we could provide.
And I think that the last time that was the reason which the department gave, Judge, and I asked whether or not, and you asked them to verify that they could not provide the funds for the visitation purposes, because it would be the same as if they were providing transportation for a parent to see the child.
Okay. So did they ever report back?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't remember if they did.
Judge, we did make reasonable efforts, and I understand what Miss Evans Battle is saying. She's in the state system too, Judge. She visited while she wasn't in the system.
And the state system does not let them visit?
No, Judge, they do not.
Well, they used to. I don't. Well, there are a lot of limitations and restrictions, but anyway, child is not over 14, and parents obviously haven't made reasonable progress because we're already to TPR, and that was among the most significant reason, because they were incarcerated and are going to continue to be incarcerated for even more than 12 months, I think, if that's what I think the testimony was the last time we went over that.
It was, Judge.
Ms. Cox, is there anything you want to tell us about how well the child is and how unspoiled the child is?
No, sir. Unfortunately, spoiled all day long, every day. But she's doing very well, and is progressing developmentally just fine, and is a very happy, healthy, 3-year-old. She just had a birthday. She just turned 3. So all good news to report on that front.
And how old was she when she was placed in your home?
4 days old.
Yeah, because I knew that she came in 21, which would be 3 years ago. So
Yes, sir, for more than 3 years now.
all All right. Well, thank you for continuing to take care of her. We go through these legal proceedings.
Absolutely. We're happy to do so.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Cox or for anybody or the case manager or anything else?
No, Judge,
Your Honor.
I will state my
sir.
place. I will state my place, Judge, that they are ready, willing, and able to adopt this child. That's, I know they're ready. And, of course, we don't have to make the statement that is TPR. We plan to TPR. We already have filed the petition. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
All right. All right.
Your Honor, if I may,
Sure.
just on behalf of my client, she cannot be here today. The last time that we were before the court, or actually the time before, my client had requested that efforts be made to contact her parent to talk about potential guardianship of the child. And just stating for the record that I made that contact. I attempted to make that contact and did speak with the maternal grandparent. And unfortunately, they're not in a position to take the child under a guardianship at this time, but that effort was made.
Okay, thank you. All right. October 14th at 8 o'clock on Zoom is the next review hearing. I will be seeing y'all in, what did I say, May 22nd?
Yes, Judge.
And that will be live, I believe. Is it? Or is it, I guess maybe with the people, the parents in prison, maybe we scheduled it for Zoom. Let me look back in the file. Hold on. Well, I'm looking at the summons. And it doesn't, if it says Zoom, I don't know where it says. Oh, there it is. Right next to the date, Wednesday, May 22, 24 at 12:30 p.m. via Zoom. And I kept looking all around, up above that and below it, but not on it. So yes, did that, everybody, I'm sorry, I confused everybody. I didn't mean to. So it is on Zoom. All right.
And Your Honor, the 1014 review hearing, did you say that that was at 8 o'clock?
It is, yes. It's on Zoom, October 14th at 8.
Okay.
And Judge, if the court does terminate, not presupposing they would at that on the May date, would that be the post TPR date?
It depends on what the time is. I usually, let's see. I think I have to review them 6 months after TPR, if TPR is granted, and that would not be 6 months. It would be a short, I can do a shorter term, but so it would not necessarily, to answer your question.
Okay.
There've been times that I ordered 90 days after,
Right.
and then sometimes we've had to come back and back and back.
I think the shorter time would be fine, Judge, based on the fact that we have a foster parent ready, willing, and able to adopt this child. Hopefully we can move quickly on that.
Let's get through the first hoop.
Right. I understand.
See how that goes. All right. Thank y'all for your time. If you'll prepare a proposed review order and circulate it to the lawyers and to the
We'll
court.
do that, Judge. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Have a good day.